Dear friends, up to this time I spoke on the role of chromosomes in continuity of life of a species or number of species to continue their generation on earth for many times. So up to this hour we know that the zygote, a single cell which is a first cell containing the diploidy, resulted due to union of male and female gametes. The process is called sexual reproduction. This zygote has all potency to develop into organism carrying the characters of the parents from which it arose. So it may be plant or animal. Because of the variety of plants and animals in this earth, that is morphologically as well as the anatomically, as well as from the point of adaptation to different sets of environment conditions on this earth, and difference in the nature of getting or obtaining their food. Some of the organisms depending only on the plants and plant products, some of the organisms to derive their food from the other animals, like that. So we have the variety of living beings on this earth, which is giving rise to another concept in biology, that the biodiversity. So we all know in biology, according to evolution, the life on this earth is said to be originated about 3.5 billion years back. Our earth, prior to the origin of life on this, is said to be born back about 5 billion years. That is said to be the age of the earth. So by supporting the living beings, of course from the water, evidently by the studies in biology, life is said to be originated in water. It has tried to come on land with various changes, modifications or manifestations, of course with the long duration, that is several hundreds and lakhs of years. So this process of conversion of the life or simple living beings into complex organisms with different kinds of cells, it is evolution. So it takes place with very slow pace, and it has resulted into the individuals of a population making a community or a division, subdivision, and similar groups making the kingdoms, like that. So taking into account the similarities and differences, we the human beings are able to group the organisms into a plant kingdom and animal kingdom, further in the plant kingdom into several groups like gymnosperms, pteridophytes, bryophytes, algae, fungi, etc. In animals, the animals which are living only in water, still they are unable to come on land, like the fishes, tortoise. And among them there are so many differences. And those organisms came on land from the water habitat or aquatic habitat, like reptiles, amphibians, aves, and highly evolved the organisms that are the mammals. So this biodiversity, that is biologically different kinds of organisms present on earth, living with their own characteristics and adaptations and eating one another, making the what is called as the food chain. One organism eating the other, that other one is being eaten up by the another one. So a continuous process, eating and being eaten up, makes the food chain. So there is a need of this eating, because eating is just not a physical phenomenon. It is a direct way of getting the energy. So this energy flow from one organism to another organism is nothing but food chain. So this energy is seen to be flowing from the autotrophic organism into the heterotrophic organisms. So it is what is very simple, that the autotrophic organisms are all green plants where they can harvest the light energy by their unique property, that is chlorophyll present in all green parts of the plant. So that energy is converted into the food molecules, which can also be called as chemicals containing high energy. So that food available in the plant and plant products is being eaten up by the organisms which are relying on the plants and plant products, known as herbivores. So they obtain or derive their energy by eating the plant and plant products, and these herbivores are being eaten up by the other category of animals known as carnivores, or flesh eating animals, where they can eat flesh only, never the plant and plant product. So they are the carnivores. Among the carnivores, again there are smaller and bigger animals where they get their energy by eating phenomenon. So sometimes this food chain is not always the linear, sometimes it may be complex, running in different directions, making it as a network of food chains, that is called as food web. So this is the way of getting the energy, or the flow of energy in between the organisms which are different in their morphological nature, anatomical nature, and the adaptation capacities. The question is that what is the size of this biodiversity, and can we precisely say that is there any uniformity in the biodiversity to the extent of 50% or 75%, or is it similar to the whole sum? No, never. The biodiversity, compositionally, it is containing variety of organisms. That is why diversity, biological diversity. Biological in sense, the biota, all living matter present on the earth. And it is said to be about 2 to 4 millions of living beings contributing to the composition of the biodiversity. Although it is that much in number, it is just about 1.2 million species or 1.2 million types have been recognized and documented scientifically. Still much more to be done in this field. Usually the organisms are made up of both plants and animals. The proteinaceous matter, it is a mass of proteins. Of course, proteins are going to vary from organism to organism, it is not alike. But all proteins are being formed under the guidance of the genetic material. What I said in my first talk, how the organisms are coming to existing from the parents or the previous generation. So here, what I trust is the genetic material or DNA, which is having the secrecy to mold the future organism. What kind of its morphology, what kind of proteins to be aggregated to make that mass of plant or animal, of course. So this DNA segregated in the biodiversity, or DNA that is segregated in all animals, plants, including the microorganism, is said to be estimated at 5 into 10 to the power of 39 billion base pairs, and it is going to weigh about 50 billion tons. See, this is an estimation that 5.0 into 10 to the power of 39 base pairs segregated in the biodiversity, which includes microbes, plants and animals, weighing about 50 billion tons. So it is a very astonishing figure that the DNA, having its consistency, not prone for much changes, how it is capable of molding this much number of variety of organisms, which are numbering to about 2 to 4 million types. Among them, the capacity of us is only to identify them very correctly to the extent of 1.2 million. And this biosphere, what is called as Earth, which is a supporting place for the best living condition for all living beings, none apart from this in the universe. Only this Earth, the biosphere, is said to contain about 4 trillion tons of carbon. 4 trillion tons of carbon that is segregated into the biodiversity are present in the form of food, or may be present in the form of the component of the nucleotides, that is precisely to the pentose sugar, where it is made up of carbons, 5 carbon, or the food that is eaten up by the organisms, the carbohydrate rich food, or the nitrogenous food containing little amount of carbon, or it may be protein, whatever it may be. It accounts to about 4 trillion tons of carbon, where carbon is making the what is called as skeleton of food materials. That's why most of the organisms, although they are very different, variety, biodiversity, they are relying to derive their energy from the carbon rich sources, that is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, simple sugars and complex sugars like monosaccharides and oligosaccharides and polysaccharides, which are nothing but the higher modifications of this simple sugar glucose, which is the first product of photosynthesis in plants. So these plants, the pioneer organisms to come on earth, are supporting all other animals by providing the food material, and they are supporting the whole heterotrophic group, including man. Under heterotrophy is unable to obtain or prepare or get their energy unless we eat. So this eating phenomenon, whatever kind of food material that may be, a protein, fat or the sugar, is nothing but energy source. So that energy source, the food after eating, both in plants and animals, is subjected to respiration process, where the respiration is releasing the energy present in the food molecules in the form of heat energy, and that energy is the energy which is required for the mechanism, like all movements or the digestion or the enzymatic reaction to take place inside the cell. Everything, all activity is requiring the energy in the minimum level or maximum level. So if you want to climb up about 15 or 20 steps, we are going to consume several hundreds of calorific energy, where this energy is present in the biological currencies present in the cells known as ATPs. A single ATP on its complete oxidation or its degradation is going to release about 17 kilocalories of energy. So for that, when you do the hard works like construction or the brisk movement or lifting up something very more height, more weighing substance, we are going to lose more energy. So there is a loss of energy by doing our work mechanically, and that loss of energy is compensated by our continuous eating phenomenon. Like that, not only in human beings, in all other organisms also, this eating is inevitable in order to compensate the loss of energy in their body. So the biodiversity containing a variety of organisms accounting to about 4 million types or 4 million types of organisms. We cannot say that they are species, because if we use the word species, we must be able to define it for its characteristics. Only 1.2 million we have documented and defined for their characteristics superficially. Although they are also responsible and they are also meant for the change, and this change, when they are undergoing, they might become changed ones after about 100 years or 200 years. That process of changing from one form to another form with a slow pace of time, 200 years or 500 years or so, that is speciation, that is taking place both in animals as well as in plants. Of course, with the different time scales in animals and plants. It is not abrupt change. That's why that slow change is called as evolution. It is not revolution, sudden change. So this origin of different kinds of organisms on this earth, getting molded into different kinds, leading different lifestyles or different kinds of getting the food material, and these are having different phenotypic characters, that is obvious morphological features, are all possible to come on land because of the chromosomes only. So these chromosomes are running over number of generations, and these chromosomes are acting as bridges between the generations. So these chromosomes, although they are giving rise to millions and millions of species, making the biodiversity, having the consistency, they are having the consistency in their nature, that is the DNA just containing nucleotides, and these nucleotides are not prone to change, just they are made up of nitrogenous base, sugar and the phosphate. Such number of nucleotides are arranged in the form of a chain. Such two chains are running opposite to each other, and they are twisted upon each other in the very much folded manner, that is called DNA, which is simply called as double helix. So two strands are wound on themselves in the form of much coiled body. That is why DNA, the life coil, is also said to be the super coiled structure. Man cannot do that. So naturally, that supercoiled structure is impregnated with the special kind of proteins, histones. So these are the core proteins to give the shape to the chromosomes. So these chromosomes are constructing the bridges for the generations of organisms, including the man. So whatever the big animal like the elephant, the very big animal on this biosphere like the blue whale present in the water, or any tree, a small or big, or any small plant that is in the ground level or underground, or even a tendril, very delicate plant which is unable to stand up, it grows with the support of the other, or any microorganism, even it may be virus, which is capable of showing its reproduction only when it is present inside the other cell, plant cell or animal cell, able to show its living nature. Unless it enters into the living cell, it cannot show its living nature. So virus is neither a living being nor a non-living being, where we are living or we are talking in a day several times the coronavirus. This coronavirus, unless it enters into our body, it cannot make the infection or it cannot live outside our body. So the viruses containing, of course, the RNA, they are genetic material, and DNA viruses are also there, and there from the DNA of the bacterium, DNA of the plant, big or small, DNA of the animal, big or small, like the whale, elephant or human beings, it is having its consistency, it is maintaining the rigidity, containing only 4 nitrogen bases, that is chlorine, adenine, guanine, pyrimidines, cytosine and thymine. With this consistency, it is very wonderful that how that DNA life coil is capable of molding different kinds of organisms which are numbering about millions, and they are living, and they are, of course, they are living for their own span of time, which is called as lifespan, where a small insect can live for a few days, and a worm can live for a few months, and a plant can live for 100 years, and human can live for 100 years, or a dog can live for 10 years, like that lifespan. But anyway, whatever kind of it may be, for this origin and livelihood and lifespan of any kind of living organism, that DNA is very important molecule. Maintaining its consistency, it is capable of producing different kinds of organisms that make the biodiversity, where this biodiversity is said to be the what is known as its frequency of occurrence or complexity, or its growth is said to be the more in the equatorial region of the earth and subequatorial regions, because that is the conducive environment for the survival of many kind of organisms, both plant and animals. Of course, biodiversity is becoming diminishing when you move towards the poles like the Arctic region and Antarctic region, that is south and north poles, where the environment conditions are not favoring for this biodiversity, so that we have less biodiversity or the biological organisms which are less in number in the polar regions of the earth. So the chromosomes, although small, restricted to the nucleus, and nucleus is the smallest part that cannot be seen under the normal microscope except its spherical nature. Its inner content cannot be seen unless we have the transmission electron microscopes, and the scanning electron microscope cannot see the interior of the nucleus, but there is definitely the genetic material which is entangled in the nucleoplasm, that is the liquid matter of the nucleus, and that nuclear material, the thread-like material can be seen as chromosome only in certain stage called as very clearly the metaphase stage of the cell division. So when the cell is dividing, it shows the metaphase, where the chromosomes are seen divided, made into 2 equal halves, and through the anaphase they are segregating or moving to the 2 poles. Hence a cell is capable of giving its 2 daughter cells, and further division of those 2 daughter cells, many number of them, n number of times, is giving rise to the mass of cells. That mass of cells, because of this division and another unique feature, differentiation, is due to the origin of, or due to the coming of, due to the future appearance of the organism, this division and differentiation are taking place in a cell. So chromosomes are constructing the bridge between the generations of any kind of organism, let it be the microorganism or the higher organism. So this similarity in the genetic material DNA is said to be having its own secrecy, that is known as the genetic code in biology. That genetic code is a universal code. It is applicable to all organisms, both plants and the animals, including man. There is no difference. So all organisms, from the point of the genetic material which is being carried through the chromosomes, chromosome numbering varying, like in Ophioclasm 1200, just Arabidopsis thaliana, a much studied plant for its genetic characters, Arabidopsis thaliana, an angiospermic small plant containing just 10 number of chromosomes, or maize plant, which is also the study material from the point of genetics, 20 number. It is the what is known as precise, consistent, unchanged genetic material DNA, which is seen carried from generation to generation through the chromosomes. So the chromosomes are playing that important role of the transmission of characters from parents to their offsprings. Our offsprings are inheriting their character from their parents only through the chromosomes. So chromosomes are aptly called as bridges of heredity. So generations, we the living beings are able to live here, are able to continue our life on this earth only because of this flow of the chromosomes through the gametes, and gametes are the ones specialized cells meant for reproduction. So these gametes of course appear during sexual reproduction. That the precise cells which is to show the sexual reproduction, and this sexual reproduction is one which is bringing some sort of change to some extent, not more, to some extent change in the nature of offspring, in the nature of individual over generations. It is not so absolutely the new offspring, new individuals will resemble their parents. Absolutely no, it is not like that. Changes are also there to minor extent, that is known as variations. So chromosomes are bringing variations, that is under the influence of the environment. Even with that, that variation is negligible, but consistency of the genetic material with this DNA is called as heredity. So genetics in biology deals both with heredity, that is maintenance of constant character over number of generations. That is why human beings over number of generations are maintaining our stature. We are going to the height of about 5 or 5 point something like that. We never grow up to the 8 feet or 9 feet or 10 feet. And a tamarind tree attains the height of about 50 to 60, not more than that, 300 or 400. Like that, arecanut and coconut tree can achieve or can attain the height of about 100 feet, not 400 500 like that. So that means there is something hidden in the DNA to maintain a constant character in the organisms, so that DNA is part and parcel of the chromosome, and chromosomes are aptly called as the bridges of heredity, and these chromosomes are being studied even in this hour. And chromosomes were the ones for the first time to the field of biology, they were made known to world by the very serious observations of a Western scholar known as the Waldeyer in 1888. He was the first person to observe under the simple microscope the chromosoma, the colored bodies. So these colored bodies, they appeared as colored bodies, they appeared as distinct bodies on coloring due to the basic dyes they were applied, like the Fuchsin dye or Fulgen dye and astocarmine and astoarsine dyes, what they used to identify them as precise bodies. So because they appeared as deeply colored bodies, because of the application of these alkaline dyes, they were known as the colored bodies. Chroma means color in Latin, and soma means body, these colored bodies. Later this the word, the chromosoma, as it crept into English, it became chromosomes. So these chromosomes are being studied very extensively even now, because their behavior absolutely is not known, and slight changes are going on there, and these changes like the deletion, duplication, alterations like translocations are happening in variety of organisms, and these are being studied by the eminent scholars, geneticists in the world like Morgan, Muller, Benzer. Of course, the Gregor Mendel was the one rightly called as father of genetics, because even though not knowing about exact nature of the chromosomes or DNA or genes, he was having the very genius idea that the characters are going to appear in the organisms because of the presence of something that is present in the organism. That something he called it as the factor. So the Mendel's idea of genetics was the factor hypothesis. Those factors, during the time of 1845 to 59, the Mendel did his experiments on pea plants. They laid the foundation stones for the genetics. So factor hypothesis of Mendel now is redefined as the gene concept. Of course, in 1900, Bateson was the first one to use the word the gene, and this gene was the material capable of generating the character. So genetics is another very important or interesting branch of biology, where it is showing the interesting concepts like the jumping genes and the insertion elements and moving genes, and those are responsible for the development of newer and newer characters. And in this time, it is very apt to remember the very important scientists of the America like Barbara McClintock, where she got the Nobel Prize for the identification of insertion elements or jumping genes in our familiar plant like the maize plant. She observed different kinds of phenotypes in the seeds of maize plant, and she crossed them and she obtained different phenotypes. She was recognized as a very well-known scientist in the field of the genetics, so that she was awarded the Nobel Prize for that important work. And these jumping genes or insertion elements are distributed in majority of the organisms, including the man, and the human genome is also said to be containing about 40% of the jumping genes or the insertion elements. And this concept of chromosomes containing the DNA is very important one, where it is common in all living beings, and maintaining the constancy or establishing the relationship between the biodiversity in the form of the presence of the purines and pyrimidines, the nitrogenous bases and phosphate group numbering to only the little. So even though it is of one kind, nitrogen bases 4, pentose sugar and the phosphate group, it is capable of forming the diverse group of living organisms, the biodiversity. Today, we have plenty of organisms still to be identified and characterized. So there are challenges for the identification of the variety of the organisms. It is said that in ant group only there are still about 55,000 types of ants to be documented scientifically, and they have to be named very scientifically. So that is still a challenge in the field of science. And another interesting thing is that of course the Boveri has to be remembered here. Sutton and Boveri, they were the pioneers to give the theory that the chromosome theory of inheritance. So by following the chromosome theory of inheritance, later workers have gone through to decipher the what is present in the DNA to make the biodiversity. So Boveri worked with the three American scientists like Edmund Beecher, Wilson and Nettie Stevens and Walter Sutton and Theophilus Painter. And a very interesting thing about the Theophilus Painter, who worked with the Boveri, is that he observed very crudely in 1923 to say that the human cells have 24 pairs of chromosomes, that means 48 chromosomes. So it was the observation of Theophilus Painter. Under the microscope in 1923, he counted 24 pairs. That means the human cell has 25 pairs, means 48 chromosomes. But till 1956, a Indonesian cytogenesis, namely Zhu Hing Jio, TJIO, Zhu Hing Jio, in 1956 exactly said that by very correct identification that human cells containing only 46 chromosomes. See, up to 1956 it was not confirmed that the human cells have 46 chromosomes. Of course, this 46 chromosome number is going to vary very rarely, rare and rarest. That is known as what is known as change in the pleiady, that is aneuploidy. Chromosome number becoming less than the 46, that is 46 minus 1. Chromosome number becoming 46 plus 1, that is known as 47 chromosome. They are all the changes in the organism where human being cannot be normal, even though with the loss of one chromosome, even though with the addition of one chromosome. It should be precise 46. So this is a very interesting thing that only after 1956 by the observation of Zhu Hing Jio, cytogenesis Indonesian born, observed that 46 chromosomes are the consistent number of chromosomes present in the human cells. Now the human genome project has been completed, and it is said that the human beings have 30,000 genes, and we have about 3 billion base pairs in us, the nucleotide base pairs, nucleotides 5 billion types. Among them, only few number of genes are working, about 30,000 genes are said to be working. These working genes are also known as exons, and non-working genes which are present simply in the genome are known as introns. Of course, introns and exons are arranged side by side to make the linear DNA molecule, and our working genes are said to be out from 25,000 to 30,000. At this juncture, I would like to finish up my talk over this topic, chromosomes and biodiversity. Thank you for watching.